So tax secret number one that I want to talk about that's either not used enough or misused is the home office deduction. And a lot of times people are like, who can take this deduction? And I know during the pandemic, a lot of people went to start working from home. And a lot of people were like, well, I'm working from home. Can I take the home deduction? Well, this deduction is strictly for business owners and investors who use part of their home exclusively for business. It's not your whole home, part of your home. And those people, specifically in the real estate space, those who are managing operations, the finances or bookings from their home, if you have a dedicated space in your home and you're either, like I said, either a business owner or investor, rental investor, short-term rental investor, even in stock investing, as long as you're a business owner, you can take this deduction. Now, if you're a W-2 worker, you don't get to take this deduction. And whatever your employer is paying you, that's already included in your salary, should be. And if it's not, negotiate some terms, right? But usually it's a benefit for you to work at home because you're typically, if you're a W-2 worker working from home, you're saving money because you're not making that commute. But as a business owner, this is the deduction that you're eligible for and you should be taking full advantage of. And what does that deduction look like, right? So the IRS for most deduction has two options. They're usually an either or in all situations. So even from the fact of if you're going to take the standard deduction, and all the standard deduction is how much you get to keep tax-free, those first dollars that you get to keep tax-free. And so that you either get to take the standard deduction or an itemized deduction, whichever is greater in that's going to benefit you the most. It also works that same way with most tax strategies as well. You can have an either or option, right? So either you take the home office deduction, or there's two options with the home office deduction. You can either take the standard amount, or you can take an itemized amount, and I'll talk to you what that actually looks like. But a home office deduction is a portion of your home that's used for business purposes. You get to take a deduction on that, including things, the overall home as well. So it can cover things like part of your mortgage interest, your utilities, your insurance, your depreciation, even if you're renting the home. So there's two things that we talk about in this space: direct expenses and indirect expenses, right? So direct expenses are everything that happened in that office. If you paint the office space, you buy a desk for the office space, you put a couch in the office space, anything in that office space that you have dedicated exclusively for business, there's that hand, exclusively for business is 100% deduction. But anything around the house, the overall home, you get a percentage of that office, right? So let's say 10% of your home square footage is dedicated to your home office. You get to write your overall home expenses off by that 10%. So this is something that you need to really keep track of. Whenever I'm asking a client about home office deduction and like, hey, are you running your business from home? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the square footage? It's about, no, measure that space. We need to know what that exact dedicated measurement is, because if you ever get audited, the IRS could come and say, we need to see the measurement. So you want to make sure that you have an office space that's dedicated to what you put on that return, right? Because they're going to want you to write that inside of that tax return, what that dedicated space was over in comparison to your overall home office. So this is a deduction. Like I said, it leaves a lot of money on the table. So the two methods I was talking about, one method is a simplified method. It's $5 per square foot up to 300 square feet. So that's a $1,500 deduction. That's the simplified method. Using that square footage in your dedicated office, you get $5 a square foot up to 300 square feet. That's one option. The other option is the actual method, where you write down the actual square footage. What you can do with the actual is you write off the actual expenses, whether it's the mortgage interest, the rent, the utilities, up to a percentage, but either you use the simplified method or the actual method. Remember, I said the IRS gives you two approaches in most things. So best way to do this is to figure out which one is going to give you the most bang for your buck. Are you going to get more money or more savings on this is a deduction. This is not money in your pocket. This lowers how much you're being taxed on. So you need to figure out which one's going to give you the biggest savings. Is it going to be the simplified method for up to $1,500? Or if you broke out your actual cost, would that be a greater expense? So this is a strategy. This is a tax strategy that you want to make sure you're implementing before year ends, right? Get all your ducks in a row before the year ends and you're scrambling in January to try to gather all of those things. So that's that strategy number one, the home office deduction. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.